you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans? The media calls us racist for wanting to build Trump's wall.
J.D. Vance, like his boss Donald Trump, takes a hard line on immigration.
With more illegal drugs and more Democrat voters pouring into this country.
Last night on Fox News, against the backdrop of the convention, he summarized their isolationist foreign policy.
The most important part, I think, of the Trump doctrine in foreign policy is you don't commit America's troops unless you really have to, but when you do, you punch and you punch hard. I think that's the way that you respect America's brave men and women who are serving.
He's argued strongly against sending more U.S. military aid to Ukraine, which he thinks is just prolonging the agony. If Ukraine has to accept neutrality, not NATO membership, as part of a peace deal with Russia, then so be it.
This will end in a negotiated peace. The question is when it ends a negotiated peace and what that looks like.
He told the Munich Security Conference in February that for the US, Asia is a far higher priority than Europe, which will have to deal with Putin itself.
I do not think that Vladimir Putin is an existential threat to Europe, and to the extent that he is, again, that suggests that Europe has to take a more aggressive role in its own security. That's number one.
One of the big dangers of
a recent joke about the UK is straight out of the Farage playbook.
And I was talking about, what is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran. Maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over.
Well, I'm joined live from San Francisco by the author J.D. Vance.
None of these views were apparent in 2016 when he spoke to Channel 4 News about his memoir of growing up in a poor family plagued by addiction.
It's that they're really trying to find something to do, something to dull that pain that comes from living in areas that are really struggling.
His book, Hillbilly Elegy, was made into a Hollywood movie.
I know I could have done better, but you got to decide. You want to be somebody or not.
He certainly is somebody now, a champion of the white working class, the bedrock of Trump's support. He lauds strong women like the grandmother who brought him up, but has nothing but derision for women without children.
That we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
J.D. Vance has carefully calculated his political rise, from hillbilly to law graduate and senator, from never-Trumper to Trump's right-hand man. He provides an intellectual underpinning to Trump's political instincts, an heir apparent who wants to antagonize America's traditional elite and upend relations with traditional allies around the world.
Lindsay Hilson reporting. Well, joining me now is Greg Swenson, Chairman of Republicans Overseas UK. Welcome to the programme here above the Convention Centre. Are you okay with the direction that your party is travelling in? Because you represent Republicans overseas.
Sure.
You know all about global trade. You know all about the image of America abroad. Yeah. This is becoming an isolationist, populist, nationalist party, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think so. There's that wing of the party for sure, and I think what we have to hope for, and I'm optimistic that we can do this, is just bring together the sort of country club Republican circuit. You're going to see Nikki Haley here tonight speaking with the new populist working class right, and I think that's healthy to have a Big Ten party. It's known as the party of the Big Ten.
But can that coalition hang together, and does it make economic sense? You've got 10% tariffs on all goods coming to the United States suggested by this convention. Yeah. That kills free trade, doesn't it?
It's a mistake, and I think...
So you're not in favor of that?
No, I'm not in favor of that.
100% tariffs on goods coming from China.
I think what's important is that we look at China, and that's not free and fair trade, so they don't deserve favored nation status with us, or favorable trade arrangements. So I think that's a bit of a stretch to say, let's slap tariffs on our trading partners.
Yes,
and
but that's the end of free trade, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it's the end of free trade, and I'm not sure it's going to work that way. But I don't think it's an isolationist party. In fact, if you look back at 2019-20, we had peace and prosperity. You had peace movements around the world. But I'm talking
about the party now. You've got J.D. Vance, and the president to some extent as well, saying we don't need to support Ukraine. Let's call it a day. Let's broker a peace. The Europeans are terrified of that.
What J.D. Vance has said is he would hope that the Europeans step up more so that the United States can focus on Asia. And, you've heard that over the years. You heard a lot from Obama, the famous pivot. And so what the Europeans and the UK should want is a return to defense spending and security.
But that's already happening, isn't it? I mean, the Europeans are spending more than what they were before.
Which is fantastic.
Partly because of Ukraine, partly because of Trump. That's going to carry on.
Yeah,
but the fear is that they will pull the plug on NATO altogether.
No, not at all. In fact, and both of them have said they won't. And I talked to Mike Pompeo about this last night. Not a chance that's happening. What the Europeans should want is that the U.S. gets back to their defense spending. We've had 3 years in a row of 3% cuts to defense spending in real terms. And the U.S. is still half of NATO. So that's a 4.5% cut of NATO spending. That's really dangerous.
What about the comments from the man who wants to be vice president, that the first Islamist nuclear power could be Britain under Labour? That is bunkum, isn't it?
It's you could argue it's an exaggeration, right? There's only 4 Islamist MPs right now, but
you could argue.
But it's a
you
concern.
Can be stronger than that,
right,
Greg.
Right. But let me answer the question. It's a concern that a lot of people have, and you'll notice that both J.D. Vance and President Trump say what people are thinking. Not all people, but they say what people are thinking. So they're very unfiltered that way.
And are you correcting them? Do you personally believe that we're going to be an Islamist regime?
It's an exaggeration.
Yeah, but then it's your job to go and talk to people like J.D. Vance.
Well, I haven't met him yet. I look forward to it.
Will you tell him that this is just
conversation.
nonsense?
Yeah, and so, like President Trump, he's unfiltered. It might have been a bit of a wisecrack. He also had a meeting with David Lammy and was very complimentary.
I'm sure David Lammy's not delighted by his comments now.
No, but nor was President Trump delighted about David Lammy's comments about him. So let's all be grown-ups, kiss and make up, right? And I think JD's already done that with David Lammy, complimenting him on the fact that the UK is the only real power in Europe spending 2% or more on defense.
But briefly, isn't that the problem, Greg Swenson? The grown-ups are missing.
No, they're grown-ups. They have a different flavor. It's refreshing. They appeal to a different group of people, a much broader group of people. And so they're going to do what's best for the people that vote for them, and all Americans, not just the people that vote for them. Again, peace and prosperity. And so you look back at 2019, and that's what people miss. 6.3% wage growth in 2019.
As
and now
they
we're
say
down
down there,
4%.
make America wealthy again. Got to leave it there.
Good stuff.
Greg
Great
Swenson,
to see you, Matt.
Thank you very much indeed.